Space rippled, distorting as if some primordial force were tearing apart reality itself. The ship seemed to shimmer into existence, transitioning from ephemeral to substantial in a matter of moments. What little light there was appeared to vanish into its Stygian surface like it had never been. Even the local star, an only slightly brighter point at this distance, failed to illuminate the ship in any meaningful way. It hesitated for just a moment as if getting its bearings, then started heading in system, gaining speed as it went. In seconds, it had accelerated from a near standstill to several hundred kilometers per second, and the velocity was still increasing. There was nothing in the system of note except a lone gas giant with a motley collection of moons and a large asteroid belt. The ship spent several days in the system, periodically pausing at random intervals to release an energy beam of some sort, as if taking samples of the rocky remains of the system's creation. It moved into the upper atmosphere of the gas giant briefly, and extruded a funnel-like apparatus before ingesting hydrogen and other gases. Even here, close to the star, the surface of the ship was so dark as to appear indistinct, but a careful observer might see subtle variations in the sinister surface, if one could focus properly on it at all. During its entire time in the system, it did not emit any radio waves or any other recognizable form of communication. When it finally shimmered once more, leaving nothing more than a fading ripple in space, there was no evidence it had ever been there, except the suddenly expanding debris of the Calexian asteroid prospector who would never be missed. A hardy soul that had thought they had struck it rich in a previously unsurveyed star system, only to die in a case of horrendously bad timing. The burst of Cherenkov radiation heralded the opening of the wormhole, before depositing a small craft just outside the orbit of Pluto, at the very edge of human space. No one had seen or heard from the humans in the 26 months since the destruction of the Kree. In truth, almost everyone was too terrified of the humans to even consider visiting their home star system, and were just grateful that the humans had contented themselves with remaining quiescent. The ship expertly countered the momentum it had carried through the wormhole from the previous star system, and brought itself to a halt relative to Sol. Then it waited. It gave no outward sign of impatience, or fret, or indeed of anything at all. It just waited. "Sir, we've just gotten a perimeter warning from the DESA satellites, specifically DESAs 9, 12, 21, and 49, the lieutenant monitoring the system announced. "Do we have an emergence? If so, where away?" asked Commander Simmons, currently the officer in charge. "The numbers are coming through now, sir. It appears to be an emergence at 12 degrees above the ecliptic, direct in the plane of the solar orbit, 3 degrees toward the galactic rim, and at roughly 40 AU, answered the lieutenant. "So, to system north, orbitward, and slightly rimward. Do we know of any systems in that direction?" asked Commander Simmons. The lieutenant responded, "Nothing for over 40 light years, sir, and nothing inhabited according to the data we got from the Matriarch." While it was true that most everyone wanted to just leave the humans alone, it was also true that the humans had established a very few, very discreet connections with some traders from various species, for the purposes of gathering information about the galaxy in which they found themselves. The Matriarch had proven themselves to be very persuadable when it came to providing information in exchange for certain items. It turned out the humans were better at making items that were in demand across the galaxy than most anyone else. Humans could copy practically anything and produce a better quality item more quickly and efficiently. By working for the Matriarch and keeping quantities of traded goods low, the humans were able to trade for information, while also providing good items to the rest of the galactic neighborhood. Eventually the secret would get out, of course, but the galaxy is a big place, and it was believed that it would take some time before anyone really figured out where the items were coming from. By then, the humans would hopefully have determined how to respond, without creating another incident like what had happened with the Kree. The DESIS, Deep Space Surveillance System, Net, was created in the aftermath of the Kree incident, specifically to ensure that no one would be able to enter the Sol system without being identified. The Kree had gotten entirely too close to Earth before being stopped the last time. Only the geometry of wormhole travel had protected Earth then. All of this flashed briefly through Commander Simmons' mind, while the lieutenant waited for the commander. Mentally chastising himself, the commander shook off the thoughts and returned to the task at hand. "Any information on the intruder?" queried Commander Simmons. "Not exactly, sir. There has been no attempt at communication since emergence, and the ship doesn't match any configuration in our database. Nor has it moved, but it does look..." The lieutenant's voice trailed off in bewilderment. "Lieutenant, I need a more detailed response, please. Preferably while I'm still alive," Commander Simmons said, just a hint of an edge in his voice now. The lieutenant immediately looked suitably abashed and replied, "Sorry, sir, it's just that this ship looks somewhat like a Kree ship, but we know that can't be possible." "Cast the data to my console, please, Lieutenant," demanded the commander. There was a definite edge to his voice now, as the lieutenant relayed the requested data to the commander. "You're right. This does resemble Kree designs we've seen, and logically it is likely some Kree escaped our vengeance. But why would one be here?" Commander Simmons wondered. "All right. Spin up the transponder, send them a query, find out who they are and what they want," ordered the commander. "Right away, sir," responded the lieutenant. The response came back moments later, and it caused the blood to drain from Commander Simmons' face. "I am the Matriarch of the Tshirt Kree. I am here on behalf of my murdered children, and I will speak with your leader immediately." The tall, dusky-skinned, blonde-headed woman carried herself with assurance as she entered the hastily arranged conference room. She paused for a moment to take in the appearance of the Tshirt Kree matriarch. The matriarch resembled a large crab in some respects. Its carapace was wide and flat, coming to a shallow point below, but being relatively flat above. From the top of the shell, 3 eye stalks protruded, spaced evenly around the edge of the shell so that the Kree could see all around it, but could still bring 2 eye stalks to bear on any point at which to observe. Looking closely, one could see that the eye stalks could be pulled back into the shell for protection. A careful observer would note what seemed to be very small holes below each of the expressive, almost human-looking eyes. These would be the Kree equivalent of nostrils, the woman knew. Below, there were 3 sturdy legs that ended in 3 wide, flat appendages. In addition, there were 3 arms which ended in 3 delicate manipulators. The arms and legs were also spaced in pairs around the shell, directly below each of the eye stalks. The woman was briefly impressed by the iridescent green of the shell, shot through with streaks of turquoise and hints of yellow on the top, fading to a pastel green below. It was actually quite beautiful, she thought. And then she gathered herself and said, "My name is May Santiago. I am the Prime Minister. I speak for my people." It was odd, but there seemed to be a sense of almost relief in her voice. "Please don't take this the wrong way, but how are you here?" The matriarch hesitated before responding. "I'm not sure I understand your question. I came here in a ship, as I'm sure you know." "Ah, forgive me," the Prime Minister said. "I simply mean that I am very surprised to see you. I thought, we had destroyed all of your worlds." "Yes," the matriarch replied, her tone cold. "I'm sure you did. If I may ask, how did you find our world so quickly? It took my children many days to break into your computer systems at Ugh, was it? Before we could identify this system as your home. I'm told your computer security is very good, but also that your computer architecture is very odd. And yet, a day after you destroyed our first world, you destroyed all of the rest almost simultaneously." Thank you for the compliment, I guess. Our security at Ark was adequate for its purpose at the time. We have improved it much since then," Santiago continued. "When our ship visited the first of your systems, it was able to break your computer security and find the locations of the rest of your worlds. But that still doesn't explain how you survived, or why you are here." "You cracked our systems in moments, without even setting foot in our world?" the matriarch asked incredulously. "Well, yes. We weren't really expecting to be able to, and I don't know all of the details. But yes, we did. The matriarch looked thoughtful.
I see. To answer your first question, while you did destroy our homeworld, we long ago found another world that was actually even more hospitable to our kind than our homeworld had been. We moved our spawning grounds to that world. Its location was never in any computer, and only a handful know its exact location. When my children are old enough, they are taken to one of the other worlds to be nurtured and mature.
Interesting, says Santiago. Are you really the mother of all your people then? If so, you have taken an awful chance coming to our home system. I could kill you right now and your race would die. That seems an unwise risk.
I am the eldest female among us, hence I am Matriarch. I am 272 years as you count them, and my end is coming soon, whether you kill me here or not.
Even though the matriarch's chitinous face could not move to show emotion, the eyes were expressive and seemed to show both sadness and resignation. She went on.
As such, there is a successor already waiting. Also, I am not literally the mother of our race, although I have contributed my share to the spawnings.
She queried,
Is it not the same with you?
Santiago considered for a moment. I am 124 and also nearing my end, though I hope to have a few more years in me yet. Among my people, we have elections where we all get together and choose who will lead us.
The matriarch appeared alarmed and said, That seems both chaotic and inefficient.
Santiago chuckled briefly before responding. It can be both, yes, but it's the best way we figured out to keep things civil, and it is usually fairly orderly. Santiago took a deep breath before continuing. You said you were here on behalf of your murdered children. I would remind you that it was your people who attacked us. Her face colored as she continued, her tone growing fiercer and harsher. You destroyed our colonies, killed over 1.5 billion of us, and then...
And you destroyed my worlds!
The matriarch roared, her rage and grief at last coming to the fore. There was silence for a moment, both leaders struggling to regain their composure. Finally, in a much quieter tone, the matriarch continued.
As you say, my children killed 1.5 billion of yours. In return, 100 billion of my children paid the price for our arrogance.
The matriarch sighed.
Hasn't there been enough death between us?
Santiago sat silent for a long time, before finally saying, There's been far more death than there ever should have been, and I am as much at fault as you. The matriarch hesitated, and then gently asked,
Prime Minister, do you have children?
Santiago's face took on a look of grief. I had two, a son and a daughter, as well as 2 grandchildren. They died on Ark, she said quietly. The matriarch paused for a moment, then said, I gather from your statement that your children meant a great deal to you, since you apparently had so few and knew them. For the Kree, we lay many eggs, and the spawnings are a moment of great rejoicing, but we don't actually know our children. At spawning, they are just hatchlings, and a great many of them die due to predators or disease before they become juveniles. It is not until they return to us from the sea as juveniles that we know them at all. Thus, to us, all who return are our children. Santiago looked thoughtful for a moment, understanding beginning to show on her face. I'm very sorry for your loss, matriarch. The matriarch dipped her eye stalks in acknowledgement and said, I also grieve for your loss. It is not the correct order of things for a parent to outlive their children. Santiago nodded her head and then continued. When our worlds were attacked, I was frightened, but also angry. We had emerged from a great tragedy which had nearly destroyed us. The Festa nearly wiped out our entire species. We don't even know how long it took us to recover, only that it has been roughly 300 years since we re-established our government. In that time, we have rebuilt our civilization, come to the stars, and begun building colonies. We had even learned to work together without fighting, and discovered we no longer needed war. Santiago continued. The colonies, you see, were to be our insurance policy. They were going to be our way to make sure that such a tragedy as the Festa would never be able to nearly exterminate us again. We were going to make sure that whatever happened, our species would survive. Then, you attacked us. Not simply attacked, but destroyed what we had worked so hard to create for our safety. Suddenly we had to fight again, but we had forgotten how. More importantly, we have forgotten why we no longer fought wars. Matriarch, I don't know how it has been with the Kree, but for humans, we have spent millennia fighting and killing each other. Our history is littered with our brutality. It has caused the fall of many of our early attempts at civilization. The Maya, Hittite, Harappan, Mauryan, Roman, others lost to history. We have forgotten how vicious we can be. You reminded us. Fear and anger are a dangerous combination, and we are vengeful. It was the Matriarch's turn to look thoughtful.
This explains much, the Matriarch said at last. My children acted badly. I have been trying to control them for some time, but the realities of our situation made them somewhat intractable.
The Matriarch went on.
We have been at war now for several centuries. A war with no victories, only casualties. We have been fighting for not just our existence, but also for the survival of this entire portion of the galaxy. None of the other worlds are even aware of what we have been doing on their behalf. I was seeking to change this, but then you happened, and that is why I'm here. I need your help.
Santiago was taken aback. I don't understand. How can we possibly be of help to you?
The Matriarch replied, You destroyed our entire war-fighting capability. Fleets that had taken years to create, you destroyed with a single ship in moments. And then
we destroyed entire star systems, again with a single ship. Santiago finished quietly.
Yes, said the Matriarch. We now have only one world. I won't tell you where, for reasons I'm sure you can understand. We no longer have the capability to hold back our enemy, and if someone doesn't take on the responsibility, then you, us, the Kylex, the Marvek, and all the other races are doomed. Humanity are the only ones I can see who may be able to stop our enemy once and for all.